We're just gonna
Sports stuff.
For 25 minutes. We're sportsing it up again.
Boom.
Boom.
Baby.
It's time to take it to the house.
To the house.
Episode 2
Woo.
with Bryan and Isaac. If you need homeless youth services, you can take it to my house, 300 North Willow Street in downtown Wasilla.
Yes, sir.
Because we're a production of the My House Podcast Network, recording here at the My House Recording Studio. And last episode was last week, and we talked about our favorite sports teams. We got that out of the way.
Yeah.
You're wearing your Raiders hat, wearing my Mariners hat.
Yeah.
Let's not talk about the last week that the Mariners had. It has not been good. The Detroit Tigers are all of a sudden world beaters.
This is where, Ozzy, you put in like the playback of they have the best rotation.
That the Mariners are 5-5 in their last 10. They're still tied for first place in the American League West, but similar to the Seahawks, it feels like they have all the pieces that they need. They have the best starting rotation in Major League Baseball, and
wow,
they are still.
That's a hot take there, bud.
They do. Statistically, they have the best starting rotation of pitchers in Major League Baseball, but they are 28th in strikeouts. They at one point led the league in strikeouts. Now I believe they may have been surpassed. They lead the league in strikeouts. They're 28th in batting average. So, not great.
Yeah.
They do. But they can't score runs. This isn't the subject, and I'm not going to get into this today. So, Ozzy, if you can just put the clip of Cal Raleigh's homer being robbed last night, 2-run homer being robbed.
A lot of excitement by the Mariners from this point on, and this guy is Mr. Excitement in that category. And here is Cal Raleigh. Cal swinging a high fly ball into center field and deep. Meadows going back to the warning track, to the wall, and he made the catch! Above the wall, robs Cal Raleigh of a 2-run, 2-out homer in the 8th, and the Tigers hang on to the lead.
And then I have a picture of me laying on the floor after Scott Service subbed in Mitch Garver, who's batting 170, for the only guy that had scored a run all night on Tuesday night, or whatever it was. Long story short, hasn't been good. Seahawks jersey is on today because we're talking about the West in the AFC and the West in the NFC, which is nice because that's where both of our football teams are.
Right.
So we're going to be doing predictions all the way up until the season. We'll mix in some other stuff. I just got all the Mariners stuff out of my system, so they will not come back up today. You're wearing your My House Podcast Network sports jersey.
Represent. Yeah.
What do you want to start with? NFC, AFC?
Let's start with the NFC.
Okay.
The NFC is very interesting to me.
NFC West is a fascinating division this year.
Especially because if you look at all the injuries that they had last year, a lot of those players are coming back this year.
Well, and I think it's interesting anytime you have a team go to the Super Bowl,
right?
What's going to happen the following year. And it kind of seems like, looking at it, every team is supposed to be making steps, right? Mm-hmm. Except for the Niners, who are just supposed to go back to the Super Bowl.
Which is a lot of expectation for a football team. Yeah. Let's start with the Cardinals.
Okay.
Let's start with the Cardinals.
Really interesting team this year.
The Cardinals are very interesting to me because they were out without Kyler Murray for over half of the season last year. And then they went out and drafted, I think, is going to be the best wide receiver out of college in the last, I don't know. I shouldn't say that. That'd be too much of a hot take, but I think he's going to be phenomenal. I think he's going to be, eventually at the end of his career, I think he's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer.
I'm about to praise a lot of NFC West teams that are not the Seahawks, and that gives me the ick.
Yeah.
But the Cardinals, I think, are going to be competing for a wild card spot this year. And this is a division where I think I could see it. When we look at this in January, if you told me any of these 4 teams were in a playoff spot, like, I wouldn't be surprised. If you told me the Cardinals are playing like a 6-7 seed, I'd be like, oh, good for them, you know? But I wouldn't be like, what?
Yeah.
It could happen.
Right.
I saw a lot of people have them at 8 and 9. I think that they're going to be right. They're going to be right in there, right? I think it's a 9 and 8, 8 and 9 season for them.
I think they're going to be at 9. I think that I haven't seen enough consistency from Kyler Murray when the spotlight is on and the game is important, right?
They're still rebuilding.
That season where they went like 6-0 to start, and then just like, yeah,
not good.
You know what I mean? And I think some of that falls like Kyler Murray, like he like has these games where he looks like phenomenal and just looks like an amazing quarterback, and then suddenly he gets against a primetime team that's going to be in the playoffs, and he looks like a totally different quarterback.
The problem is with all these teams, you have to play the rest of the NFC West 6 games.
Right.
And where's your easy win? Last year, the Cardinals were everyone's easy win.
Yeah.
You're not going to, I don't think you're going to get one of those this year. Well, you never know, like injuries wise.
I think you could say you might be able to get an easy win with the Rams.
Interesting. So let's move to the Rams.
Yeah.
So where do you have their record at?
I think they're only gonna win 7 games.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I disagree.
I think the loss of Aaron Donald to that defense is going to be way bigger than people are making it out to be.
Yes. And
their defense wasn't good last year.
That's a huge gap, right?
Yeah.
But that team was so injured last year, and they went 10-7.
Well, Puka Nacua is injured right now.
I have the Rams at 9-8.
Okay.
I think I have them competing for a wild card spot. I do not have them taking the division from the Niners. No. And spoiler alert, that I have the Niners winning the NFC West, which again, like,
I don't know.
It makes me feel so dirty. But I don't think. So again, if it's January and we look back at these predictions, which is always the most fun thing, is you make all these predictions and then we get to January and we're like, holy crap, we are dumb. Yeah. If you were like, okay, the Rams went 7-10, I'd be like, I could see them going 7-10. I could see them going 10-7. I don't see them winning the division. And the list that I was going through this morning to kind of get where the rest of the community is at had them at 13-3-1.
Oh my god!
I was like, you're
right.
Be
a Rams fan,
100%. And I think it's Aaron Donald, right? You're missing a guy that is he's your 99 overall, dude.
And that team's
terrifies me in Madden 23.
Yeah, remember
I lost to the Rams in the Super Bowl, and I'm still not over it.
Remember that game against the Seahawks where Aaron Donald was running at Gino,
which to be fair, I
would do the same.
I would
thing.
Poop myself if Aaron Donald
but
came through the line.
I think this is the season that the win now Sean McVay method implodes. I think all of the decisions that he made in order to get that Super Bowl are gonna come to haunt them this season. And I think that Cooper Kupp is way injury prone, and I think that Puka Nacua, his usage was so insane last year because of the loss of Cooper Kupp that he's going to be in and out all year, and it's going to be hard for them to build that consistency on offense, and that offense is what's going to win them games.
Well, let's save the best for last.
Okay.
Let's do the Niners really quick. Because I think, yes, there's changes.
Yeah.
Yes, there's a lot of pressure.
But
I think this team is it's going to be a tough division. I think they're probably a 12-win team minimum.
I don't know, because Brandon Ayuk is on his way out the door. And I think that is a bigger, especially when you have a quarterback like Brock Purdy. Really great quarterback. You put him in the right spot. You put the right tools around him. Low mistake quarterback. But he relies on the talent around him, right? When those guys don't show up and they're not doing their thing, he struggles.
I think there was a lot of Brock Purdy hate, and it's, he's a systems QB. He's a systems QB. I think we saw last year that he's just a good quarterback. Yes. Does he need tools around him? Sure, but every quarterback needs some sort of tools around him. He limits his mistakes. He does his job.
3 interceptions.
Yeah,
wasn't that against the Vikings?
Yeah. Everyone has their bad days.
Yeah.
Will the Niners make it back to the Super Bowl?
I don't think so. I think they make it to the playoffs.
If we were doing, and I think at the end of this we should do a Super Bowl prediction.
Yeah, for sure.
Once we go through all the divisions, I don't think they're going to be my NFC pick to make it to the Super Bowl. I think they win the division.
Yeah.
The Seahawks.
I think for the Niners, their fortune is that there's a lot of uncertainty in the rest of the division, and a lot of people like coming back and new offensive coordinators and lots of stuff going on with the other teams, and I think that will play to their advantage. But I think when it comes to the playoff time, that's when you're going to see them struggle, especially if Brandon Ayuk really gets traded.
I have my thoughts solidified about the Seahawks, but the fact that you have so much Niners doubt, and you have the Rams with a losing record, you have the Cardinals with a losing record.
Take on the Seahawks before I give my thoughts.
So my thoughts are, I think that I am hoping that Geno has a bounce back year because I am very high on DK Metcalf this year. I think, and Jackson Smith and Jigba.
Who's the other guy I have a jersey for? Saw him get sick touchdown against the Steelers.
Yeah.
Again, they lost that game. But yeah, I love
the real question is can their defense take a even just a smidge of a step?
You don't. It's like, okay, I said I was done with the Mariners. But I'm not. It's like the Mariners, dude.
Yeah.
You look at the Seahawks.
Yeah.
You've got DK Metcalf, who's got his warts, but at the end of the day, is a competitor, like incredible frame, incredible talent.
Right.
If he has the right coaching, he is top 3 receiver.
That's a little
top 5. Top without getting into it. Top 5.
I could name 5 better receivers than DK. He's a top 10. He's a top 10 for sure. He is, but the thing about DK Metcalf is he's inconsistent, right? Like he'll go off for 150 yards and then the next game go off for 20.
When he is on his game, I understand that you can say this about it when I'm on my game, you know?
Right?
But when he is on his game, he is competing with the best receivers in the NFL.
Yeah, well, I think part of the problem though, and that's why I'm high on DK Metcalf this year, is because I don't think they tried enough to get him involved, and I think this year
I agree
that they are going to make an effort to get him involved, which I believe will win them games.
So here's the Mariners to Seahawks comparison, right? DK Metcalf, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Tyler Lockett. Name a team, in my mind,
okay,
maybe I would put those top 3 against any team top 3 receivers for being the best in the NFL.
That's a hot take and a fan take. Because we just talked about the Niners with Brandon Ayuk. That's the top 3 for sure. I mean, you got Debo, Ayuk, and Kittle, right? I mean, you even look at my team. You got Devontae Adams. You cannot say that DK Metcalf is better than Devontae Adams.
You're more of a football guy than me. I'm thinking like wideouts. Like, and obviously I understand the tight end position. Like, essentially, because
it's changed to a wideout.
Maybe I'm making not making a fair comparison, because then what, are you not going to count Kelsey among like the Chiefs' top 3 for receiving targets? So maybe I need to be factoring in tight ends of wide receivers, of the wide receiver position. I think best in the league.
I don't know, because
I think top 3. Can you give me top 3?
I'll give you.
Is that too much of a fan take? Really good weapons for Geno Smith.
Yeah.
Who had a bad year last year, especially compared to his first year. Is he going to get back to that high of 2020? I don't know. I think he's going to be.
Last year.
I think he's going to be better than last year.
Yeah.
And it's the Mariners with their hitting. It's the Seahawks with their defense. Watching the Seahawks defense last year gave me blood pressure problems.
Yeah, it's hard to watch.
And it's continued.
Their offensive line is a problem. Your offensive line is a real problem.
Now, in the draft, they drafted defense. New head coach, who I know Pete Carroll's focus was supposed to be on defense.
Yeah.
I think they needed a new voice to look at the defensive side of the ball. I saw one of the rankings had them at 4-13, worst team in the NFC West. I'm not saying it's going to be a cakewalk. I think that out of the teams that are not the Niners, I think the Seahawks are primed to have the best chance at a playoff spot.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that I'm locking them in for a playoff team because it's going to be a really tough division. I think that they need less to go right, to end up in the playoffs. Yeah. They don't need all the stars. You look at the Cardinals and it's like, okay, everybody's got to take a step. You got to have your rookie, yes, that Kyler Murray combo is really scary. He's got some weapons now, but you need every single guy to just hit the ground running.
And not only hit, but they have to pick up a new offensive system.
You need every guy on the Rams to not be in.
But
you got to hope that someone replaces Aaron Donald. Seahawks, you can
make the same thing about the Seahawks, though, especially picking up a new offensive system. I think a lot of people downplay the impact that has on players.
I think, is it going to be scary early? Yes, but I think the new voice is going to be better long term, and I think that the pieces that the Seahawks need to do well in order for them to make the playoffs, we've seen that they can all do it.
Yeah.
They just did not do it last year. And defensively, they had struggles. But I think the defense will be better this year. Yeah. And I think offensively, they have the pieces to do it.
They can't be any worse.
So before we move on to it was bad.
It was really bad.
It was frustrating.
You had backup quarterbacks walking down the field. It was not a good time. It's not a good time.
I can't believe that last season was the year I picked to go to. So before we move on to the AFC West, how are you ranking these teams?
So I got the Niners winning the division. I have the Seahawks taking second place, and I have the Rams in third and Arizona last.
Probably the safe picks.
Well, you can make an argument that the safest pick would be to put the Rams at 2, but I just think, Matt Stafford's unhappy. He's getting older. They got a ton of injury-prone players. I think they're going to struggle mid-season to get over that hump.
I hope that this isn't too much of a fan take. Mm-hmm. I have Niners in number 1. I know people are. The Rams are all over the place with folks. I think they get one more kick of the can this year, and I'm going to go Rams 2. I'm going to go Seahawks 3. I think they both will end up in a playoff spot. I think there's going to be 3 playoff teams coming out of the NFC West, and I think the Cardinals will just barely be on the outside looking in. But again, I think after the Niners, we're going to look at this at the end of the year, and we're going to be like, wow. Yeah. It's anyone's game right now. I don't think there's a clear front runner for 2 through who falls where 2 through 4.
Yeah, that's very fair. It is up in the air with that division.
The AFC West is not that way. So should we save the Raiders for last and just start with the obvious pick of who's going to win the division? Here comes the three-peat.
This is so hard for me.
Three-peat quest begins
It's so hard for me, especially because one of the things that I thought would prevent the Chiefs from repeating was their wide receiver room. Mm-hmm. And they go out in the draft, and the Bills are just so stupid. You don't trade with the enemy.
Literally cannot get out of their own way.
I'm like, what are you doing? And they get a speedster who has questionable hands, but either way, if he can stretch the field for the Hollywood Browns and Travis Kelce,
will the Chiefs go 17-0? No. Will they win this division? 100%. Yeah. The regular season means nothing to this team.
No.
Sometimes that's bad.
And you can see it. You can see it towards the end of the season. You can see they're in their lawn chairs, kind of kicking back.
Could they be an 11-win team, or even a 10-7 team that maybe doesn't win the division? Maybe. Here's the good news: they get to play the AFC West 6 games.
So that's what I'm saying. So at the end of the day, they can go 10-7 and still win the division.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that's the struggle. Their defense is really, really good. They've had the same, coaching staff for years and years and years now. Andy Reid is a genius. love him, hate him all at the same time. And Kermit,
I feel so good for Andy Reid.
Yeah.
And like, I
Especially
struggle
after
to
what
hate
happened
Patrick Mahomes
in
too.
Philly, like he took Philly, and
Yeah. He
changed that team,
he
man.
went from but he never had the success, right?
Yeah.
And he
he got to the show, he just couldn't finish.
Never won.
Yeah.
And he went from being like the punchline of the league to now being
the guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
For sure.
And I'm happy for him because he seems like a good guy. And I struggle to hate Patrick Mahomes. Like, say what you will about his family, he seems like, you know, as far as pro athletes go, decent dude, competitor, talented.
I think it'll be interesting. The person that's interesting on the Chiefs for me is Travis
Taylor
Kelce.
Swift.
I hate you. We're not going to talk about Taylor on this podcast ever.
Think about how
hold on.
many
I am
more fans
concerned.
got into football because of Taylor Swift.
That's so stupid.
I love it.
That's so dumb.
T-Swizzle, baby.
Oh my god.
And then
but Travis
Kelce
Kelce
will get down on a knee, propose to Taylor Swift.
Dude, he was with his ex-girlfriend for like 8 years and didn't propose. He doesn't seem like a marriage type of guy. But either way, the person that's the most interesting to me is Travis Kelce because he seems distracted. And he seems a lot more hot-tempered than we've seen him in. Like, we've seen him get pumped up, but somebody's always been able to reel him in. And this last season, you've seen where he was like, I mean, I think he even shoulder-checked his coach, right? Like, he is just like, off the rails success, I am the guy. I'm on the pedestal. And I think that could be a very toxic thing for a team.
No one has ever three-peat in the history of the NFL.
And if it's the Chiefs, I will probably never watch football again.
If it's the Chiefs, this is a conversation for a different show.
Yeah.
Because we got 3 more teams to get through here.
Okay.
But write this down for an episode title. If the Chiefs three-peat, does it make them a better dynasty than the New England Patriots?
Oof.
Tough question. Let's not get into it. Let's move on to Ozzy's favorite team, the Los Angeles Chargers, formerly San Diego.
Very interesting team.
Fascinating team.
Right.
Honestly.
New coach.
Ozzy's favorite player, Justin Herbert.
Right. Loves him.
That's his jersey.
Just
that he wears.
fanned him so hard.
100%.
Yeah.
Really exciting quarterback. I can't say he's underrated because all anyone does is talk about how he's underrated. So is he really? He's been stuck playing for the Chargers.
Right.
So that's kind of a tough position to be in.
Yep.
Are the Chargers to me are kind of like the Cardinals. Are they going to be a playoff team?
Well, so like the thing is though, like Justin Herbert has started to show signs of like being injury prone. He's injured right now, expected to start week 1, but is in a boot, right? And it's his feet that keep going out on him. And he's a mobile guy. And that is hard. Like you've seen like RG3 could have had like one of the best careers ever had he not blown his knee out.
Just never can stay healthy.
Right? And so they have Justin Herbert, who I believe is a phenomenal quarterback, but he's starting to show signs of injury prone. They got rid of their only literal threat in their wide receiver room. They have no wide receivers.
And
their first round pick is looking like a bust.
They might have some defensive struggles too.
Super defensive. I mean, the Raiders put up 63 points on them, dude.
I hate that this is going to be the conversation that we hear all season, but this is really going to come down to, has the NFL zoomed by Harbaugh?
Right.
And is he going to be able to?
Is he going
to be able to keep up with the modern NFL? It's a different game from college, but he's been there before.
I think
he's not like a Nick Saban coming in and
I think he's plotting for next season. I think he knows like what he's inherited, and he inherited a terrible cap situation because they unloaded on everybody. He's got guys on the way out the door. You know, his prime time running back took a huge step back last year.
Problems.
And I mean, their starting quarterback is Gus Edwards, or running back is Gus Edwards.
Yeah, I think that the ceiling is 8 and 9.
Yeah.
And if Chargers fans, if Ozzy just has some hope for next season,
just give some hope.
That's all.
That's what they need you, Ozzy.
They have no fans,
Ozzy.
It's like 5 guys, and you're now a part of that fandom.
Yeah.
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 The Broncos.
Broncos also
Really interesting team. Some people have them with like. Yeah, wow. Talk about someone that became one of the more unlikable coaches in the NFL.
Dude, from the moment he picked up the mantle, like, just dogging on everybody, like, just walking around. Dude, like, you had Drew Brees. Stop.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you haven't shown without Drew Brees that you can do anything.
The Broncos don't have Russell Wilson anymore, so I won't have the same level of vitriol that I did.
He wasn't even that bad last year. The problem was Sean Payton couldn't support his guy and was pushing him out the door.
Yep. I mean...
and Russ, like, he was a pro's pro.
There is... I mean, I will never forgive... that Russell Wilson jerseys were on sale for $30 last year. Like, I'm a big jersey guy.
Yeah.
Jerseys aren't cheap.
Yeah.
$30 for a jersey is a steal.
Yeah.
Never. Not once.
Yeah.
But he's not on the Broncos anymore. People have this team finishing like 4 wins, forgetting that they won like the last 6 season that they played. People have this team finishing like 10 wins without them having proved anything before.
Right.
And I don't know, like kind of the same spot as the Chargers, the Rams, the Cardinals, one of those teams where if they make the playoffs, okay, am I going to be surprised? No.
I would be absolutely shocked. I think the Drew Brees comp with Bo Nix is way overrated.
Yeah. Like their ceiling is higher than the Chargers, right?
Yeah.
Like their ceiling could be a 10-win season.
I don't know.
I don't think
9 at best, I feel like.
I think another team that I'm probably like, yeah, they're looking at 8 and 9, 9 and 8, right in that mid-range where they will be in contention for a playoff spot at the end of the season and probably miss out. They get to play the Raiders twice. And if you're ready to talk about that, let me just tell you.
If you want to bring that up, the Raiders have won like the last 16 games against the Broncos.
Yeah, but where have they finished?
They've finished above the Broncos.
You think they're going to finish above the Broncos this year? Because I'll tell you right now, they're going to move to the Raiders. I have them at 4th. And I don't think that it's particularly close. Maybe. And I'm not just saying that to rile you up.
This is my team. I'm taking it from here.
Okay.
Check it out. So, here's the deal. The Raiders are very interesting. The problem with the Raiders is we don't have a quarterback, right? And that's everybody across the league can see.
All 6 draft picks missed. Every free agent.
I don't think they missed I don't think they wanted.
Who is going to throw the ball?
I don't think they wanted. I don't think they didn't want Kirk Cousins.
So did they want to be bad this year?
No. I think that they believed in what they had, and if the opportunity came, they would take another direction, right? And so, one of the things that people downplay about the Raiders is that their defense finished top 20, right?
There's only...
They were 15.
That is the definition of mid.
Bro. But that's... Okay, so that is...
And trust me, I understand mid. I understand mid.
That is with going through 6 weeks of Josh McDaniels, who would not let his staff be his staff, right? That game against the Rams where they were like fighting for a playoff spot, Josh McDaniels told Pat Graham, we're running man defense, which is the stupidest thing in the world when there's under a minute and they're trying to throw it deep. It's dumb. Are you dumb?
I mean, I never played football, and the problem is that when I play Madden against my dad, he's calling by formation, and I'm just Ask Madden is my defensive coordinator.
Yeah.
But even I know that man defense with under a minute left in a Hail Mary situation is the dumbest thing.
Yeah. So
I mean,
so let me like lay this out for you. You got Aiden O'Connell who was thrown into the fire. Mm-hmm. He's a 4th round draft pick.
Yeah.
He had he did not think for a second.
He's crispy from that fire.
Yeah, he didn't think for a second that he was going to get a single snap that season. Was not prepared.
Toss him right back to 7.
Listen, Linda. So And you look at what he was able to do, right? Like, his first game, he had a horrible game, right? Got sacked 5 times by the same guy. He was a play away from winning us that game, right? He went after being thrown into the fire with all this uncertainty, with all, like, new coach, da-da-da-da. What, 5 and 6?
What's this? The word?
I think the ceiling for the Raiders is a 9-win season.
Okay. So,
but I think the Broncos are going to be a 6-win team.
The word that I think, when I think Raiders football in the last 5 years, rudderless, directionless. What are you?
Yeah.
Tepid, lukewarm. I want to spit you out of my mouth.
But I think
this is a team that signed Antonio Brown. I understand that there's a lot of different people there now, but signed Antonio Brown and had to cut him before he ever played a down for them. This is a team that doesn't get at their biggest free agency pickup is Devontae Adams. How did that work out?
It's working fine. I mean, Adams had a bad season last year. His first season, he went over.
There's no one to throw him the ball. There's
with
no
Derek
one.
Carr, he went over.
There's no one to support him. This team doesn't know what they are, and
That's not true.
Don't see
this.
how...
This proves that you did not watch the last half of the Raiders season, because you're absolutely right in the past that the Raiders have not had an identity.
So you're saying that this is going to be a different team.
I believe that AP has brought back the Raider mentality that we seen early 90s, 2000s, the gritty, there's 31 teams, and then there's the Raiders, right? And I think that guys are pumped up to play for him. I think all of the reports coming out of camp,
Antonio Pierce.
all the reports coming out of camp is these guys are flying around at practice, which was not the reports coming out last year.
I like Antonio Pierce a lot, actually. I think that he is in he did a lot with basically nothing last year, with a terrible situation. But the ownership group is still the same, and until I see something different,
okay,
I understand what you're saying.
What makes a good defense?
Good defensive players.
Coaching. What would you say Max Crosby is?
One of the best defensive players in the NFL.
Okay. And then
see how I just took one of your best players and I just gave it to you without any debate? Wasn't that nice? Wasn't that nice to be validated?
It sure was. But then you add a Christian Wilkinson. Let's do it.
Let's do the rankings. I would feel happy for you if the Raiders actually took a step this year.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to happen.
I
until I see the culture built, until I see consistent
I think
moves,
the culture is there.
Until I see consistent moves that are building them to something.
I mean, they took the best player available this year, which is so far from what the Raiders
didn't have a bad draft. But it's I've watched this team make decisions all over the place for too long to just take them at their word now. You know. Yeah. So fool me once, shame on you.
What do you got?
For my ranking, Chiefs number 1. Mm-hmm. I'm going to take the Broncos at number 2.
That's disgusting.
That does not mean that they're a playoff team, but I do think that their ceiling is much higher than the other two teams.
What's their win?
9-8.
9-8.
I'll have them at 9-8. I'll have the Raiders at 8-9.
With a rookie quarterback.
I'll have the Raiders at 8-9.
Or Zach Wilson. Because Zach Wilson could very well start the season.
Raiders at 3 and the Chargers at 4. Again, I think the Chargers' ceiling's probably 8 wins. Do they get there? We're probably looking at 6 to 7.
Yeah,
I think that the Chiefs may be the only team that comes out of this division that's a playoff team.
Yeah, I think Herbert's going to get hurt again this year, and I have the Chargers at 4. I have reluctantly the Chiefs at 1, and then I have the Raiders at 2. And the Broncos at 3.
All right. We'll see.
And the only reason the Broncos are at 3 is because I think Justin Herbert's going to get hurt again.
Okay. That's our rankings.
Both
Wests. Next week we'll be talking about. I want to go north.
Yeah.
AFC, NFC North.
Yeah, let's go.
And we don't watch any of those teams nearly as much as these ones, so our takes will be way worse, I'm sure.
Way worse.
Or maybe better because we won't be biased.
Maybe.
I don't know. It's important to remember that even when we're rooting against each other, that sports unite us all.
Yes.
Even when we're arguing about whether or not the Raiders are an actual football team.
Wow.
Or the Seahawks. I'm at least willing to
I'm pretty
admit
sure.
that my team
I'm pretty
is
sure that the Raiders came to town.
And we'll see you next time on To the House.